Hello and welcome to the desk in the closet. So in this video, I'm going to be going through how to make some assist hooks, just like this one, intended for slow pitch jigging. For the materials, you are going to need a bobbin tool, and that bobbin tool will be spooled with PE braid that is 1.1 go or down to 0.8 go. I've used 0.8 go successfully. Seafloor Control came out with this 1.1, and that's what I've been using here recently. And you'll put quite a bit onto the bobbin tool. You'll also need some solid rings. You'll need whatever hook you would like to use. In this case, I am using the 6mm S-ring by Seafloor Control and the 5/0 hooks by Jam. These are the specialized hooks. We'll also need some assist line. This is PE 20, 2 go by 3, and this is a 5-meter spool of this. You'll also need some UV resin. I prefer the Solares hard thin formula, and then you'll also need a UV light to cure that resin. You'll need some PE cutters or pliers that'll cut the braid. You'll need a marking device such as a pin, and then for me, I keep a log of all of the different types of assist hooks that I make, and that log will include the different type of line, the hook, the solid ring, and then the type of sunline or the type of braid that I used to do the knot. You can see that I use sunline on this one. I'm not going to use sunline. I'm going to use this 1.1, and then just like an overall diagram of kind of how that hook turned out and if I liked it or not. You can see that I have different types of hooks that I've made. The one that I'm going to make is this one here, the 5/0 Jam hook. The other things that make life easier are actually these right here. These balls were just solid wooden balls, and then the hooks were stainless steel. I drilled a little hole, and then I put those into the balls, and then you'll understand why these are important later. They're so that I can grab and pull to make sure that things are tight. The last thing that you are going to need is a vice grip. I'll be using a fly tying vise made by HMH for this video, and I believe that this is called the Spartan. So I'm going to get some of this stuff out of the way so that I have some space. Okay, so I'm going to start out with, I'm just going to make the double assist hook, so I need 2 hooks. Go ahead and get those out. Hang those up and get them out of the way. I had the light off because the packaging was bright and reflecting back towards the camera, so I'm going to turn that back on so that you can see what I'm doing with the knot. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to reference my log here, and I know that I need a 20cm length for this assist hook that I'm going to make. So I'm going to put my braid, my assist line braid, at the 30, that'll be to the 50, and then I'm just going to go ahead and mark that with my WD-40 pin. I'll take my PE cutters and cut that. Now these PE cutters are actually Shimano. I forget what model they are, but this, with the type of coating that's on them, they seem to last the longest. That's what they look like. You can tell that this has a good bit of rust. I've probably been using these for about 6 months, and you can see they still cut fairly well, given that this is such thick PE. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take my hook and I'm going to take my line, and what I want is I'm going to match up my hook with this grid here, and what I'm looking at is I'm taking a measurement of where the barb ends as compared to this back side of the hook. Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to go about halfway up this barb, and I know that my assist line needs to be 2 centimeters. Each one of these squares is 1 centimeter. So I'm going to mark that here, and I'm going to mark that here in the middle at the 1. And then I'm going to go back around and then do that on this side as well. Okay. Now, the reason that I've done that is I know that this point here, okay, so I went ahead and zoomed in so that you can see better. Those are my 2 lines. I have 1 line here, 1 line here. This is at 1 centimeter, this is at 2. I'm going to take my hook and going through the middle of the assist line, I'm going to go through that hole. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, and then I'm just going to get it over that barb, just like that. Go back around. And so now what I'm looking at is I have this other mark here, and I'm going to want that to be right there at the middle. And it's going to go, which way? This way, in fact. Yeah, this way, sorry. Like that. And then when I wrap this, that mark here is going to be right there at the end of the hook. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten that down on my vise here. Is this longer end is actually going to go towards the bottom. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and lay the backside flat, and then I'm going to loosely put a few wraps on that just so that I can get it held into place. Oh, okay, there we go. Now, the reason that I'm using this particular bobbin tool, it's because the eye right there, where the braid is coming through, is actually a sick guide. And so when I'm pulling that braid, this thin braid, tightly through there, there's a much smaller chance of me damaging that braid and then breaking this line when I'm pulling tight on it, just like that. Okay, so now that I've put a few wraps on there and this is now tight, I'm going to go ahead and pull this back up, and I'm going to make sure that this other mark that I made on my braid at the 2 centimeter mark is about where I want it, and it is. So it's going to line up again about right there. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on there. And then when I do this, if I pull up on this, the braid is actually going to, the assist line is going to move from its seated position where I want it. So I'm going to go up and around, and then on the other side, I'm going to go ahead and pull it down tight. And then I'm going to just work up like this, not really staying close together. And now that I have that fairly tight, I'm going to go up and around the top, just like that, tight. And then I'm going to start going much closer together. And then I can start moving a little bit faster. Now, this is time consuming, and is it worth the cost of materials? It is not. Is it worth the effort spent in making them? It is questionable. After you've hooked a big fish and you're looking at your prize and you're thinking to yourself how wonderful it is, you can take extra pride in knowing that you tied your own assist hooks and that they did not give. I'll make another video later of different assist hooks that I have used in the past that have ultimately failed on me, that led me to making my own assist hooks. Now, that being said, I don't make all of my assist hooks. I buy quite a few of them. I don't have a package around me right now, but I actually do buy quite a few because they are so time consuming to make, and I have had a lot of luck with these assist hooks made by Seafloor Control. In other words, they haven't failed on me. I'm not going to show you the necessarily the brands that have failed, but I'll show you what to look for when buying assist hooks that I know for a fact that I do not buy. Okay, so now the great thing about this vise is that I can rotate it. I can look at the bottom and I can kind of see where I still need to go. I need some thread there, and that's actually looking really good. So at this point, I can just put a quick half hitch, nothing special. Now, I'm going to make it a point. I don't know if you can see it or not, but this knot that I just made, the braid on there is actually a light color compared to the rest of it. As soon as I pull down on this braid, it kind of looks like the wax or something else that's inside of the braid comes out and then coats it. So if I pull it, you'll see it change to a shiny red. And then that's how I know when I'm doing my wraps that it's actually tight enough, okay? Because I want that shiny red all the way up and down there. Now that I have that, I can go ahead. I'm going to use a different cutter here because I want that nice and close. I'm just going to use a razor that I have nearby, and I'm going to just snip that. Now I'm going to take my Solaris UV resin. Again, that's the thin hard formula, and I'm going to apply that on the top side and on the sides. I'm going to use the tube itself to kind of move it around. Now you saw that knot that I just made on there came undone. It's not a big deal. Once this dries, it won't be a problem. Now this part here, I'm actually going to take my time with it and I'm not going to rush it. And the reason is I actually want this UV resin to soak into this knot that I just made around this barb and assist line. So I'm going to, again, take my time putting this on here, and I'm going to actually let that soak for just a few moments. And again, I'm looking for it to soak into that assist line. And I can rotate this just to make sure that, because it is still a liquid, it's moving around a little bit. It's not like forming a drip on one side. Okay. So now I'm going to take my UV light. I could actually wait a little bit longer, but I'm going to go ahead and move forward with the video. And then I'm going to turn the UV light on. And then what's going to happen is it's going to dry that glue. And the pressure on the assist line is going to keep it from sliding up and down that hook. Okay, and this cures fairly quickly, so that is already dry. Now, I'm going to follow that same process on the other side. I don't think that you need to see that, so I'm going to stop recording. So again, what I'm going to do is I have my two marks that I made before. I'm going to put my hook through the middle one, and then I'm going to follow the same process for the other side. The one thing that I am going to show that is necessary is whenever you put your hook on here, you can see that this hook is facing, or it's on the top side of the braid. Whenever you put your hook through, if this braid is laid out perfectly in alignment, in other words, not twisted this way, but curled up is that way is fine. This hook is actually needs to be put through this braid so that it's facing down, just like that. And that'll be important later on, and I'll show you that then. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this other side, and then as soon as that's done, then I'll start recording again. Okay, so I'm back already. I lied. I wanted to show you something else. And I got this from another member. He's actually a part of the A team. I'm not gonna say him by name because I don't know if he would agree with that. But whenever you are working on the second hook, you have this tag end hook that's just kind of hanging there, and it gets in the way of whenever you're wrapping. And so if you take a magnet and then throw it on there like that, it's actually now out of the way for the most part, and then I can continue doing my wraps, and that hook, I won't snag myself whenever I'm doing it. So it'll be easier to go around it, and I don't have that hook just hanging there. So yeah, I'm gonna finish this, and then I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so welcome back. I'm at the end. I just finished tying this knot, so I am UV curing it. And that should be good. Yep. So whenever I'm done, whenever I lay this out, it should naturally fall with these two hooks in opposite directions. So whenever I hold that up, if I hold it up on one side, the hook is going to the other side. So that is actually perfect. Okay. Now, the next part that I need is a solid split ring. Now, there's a few different ways to do this. So I'm just going to pick this up, and then whenever I hold this, I'm going to kind of pinch it about where the middle is. I'm going to put this through. Now, this is going to be the part that is good enough. So I'm going to put this through just like that. I'm going to wrap it, and then once it's wrapped on this side, you can see that this is on the back side. I'm actually going to pinch it. I'm going to twist it around itself on the back side, and I'm going to bring that loop back over the top and bring that loop now to the front side. And by doing that, what I'm doing is I'm going to lock this down. Now, the other thing that you're going to notice when you do this is those hooks were facing opposite directions. But by doing those wraps just like that, these hooks are now kind of facing towards each other. So now I'm going to take my ball, and I'm actually going to help guide these hooks to where they will be facing each other. I'm going to take my ball, and I'm going to bring it back on the ring here, and I'm going to make sure that these hooks are now laying flat, just like that. This is now laying flat, and I'm going to pull. Okay, you can see that those hooks are starting to bend just a little bit as I apply force, and I'm pulling as hard as I can, and so that is now a good knot. And the great thing about it is you see those hooks are now locked in, facing each other. If I toss them, these hooks are now locked in, facing each other. And the reason why that is important is if these hooks were facing the same direction, like this, if a fish bites this in a particular way, where this is towards the outside of the mouth and then this is towards the inside of the mouth, like this, whenever you hook the fish, you're not hooking into anything. When the hooks are facing opposite each other, whenever that fish bites the hook and pulls, one of those hooks are going to hook into the fish's mouth. That's why it's important. So that here is the example of some of the assist hooks that I make. Now, the next part to this, and this is completely unnecessary, is this wrap that I just made using the PE knot. I can actually go ahead and do the same thing right here, okay? This knot is good enough to hold, so it shouldn't be necessary. You can see that these were actually store-bought, and that knot is not here, that they just did the wraps here. So what you can do as double security is actually go ahead and put this PE knot just below this knot here. It's completely unnecessary. So I'm actually going to stop it right there. I think this video is long enough. And that is how I make a set of double assist hooks for slow pitch jigging. Again, these are the 5.0, and this should be about the 10 centimeter length, which they are. Okay. If you have any questions on this video, please let me know. Even better, if you make assist hooks yourself and you see something that I did wrong, that would also be greatly appreciated. I certainly don't mind that. Or if you see a way that this could be improved, easier to make, that would also be appreciated. So now the best part is I now get to add this to my box of assist hooks. So that was the 10 centimeter. So I believe I can add it to this set right here. And I now have, nope, that's a little bit too long. So I'm gonna add it here. Lay them flat and then put that on there and good to go. All right, as always, any questions, please let me know. Thank you for watching.